very warm welcome to all of you all. And thank you, Brother Sateesh, for accepting our invite to discuss on that topic, positivity. So this term positivity has been used and also abused a lot since time immemorial. So it would be nice to kind of discuss on this and try to understand it better, and also kind of drop all the misconceptions that we may be holding on this term. So brother, maybe we can just start off this discussion. You can share what does positivity mean to you, and also what it does not, if there are any misconceptions you see people holding on this term.
Hi, Varun. Firstly, thank you very much for inviting me to this lovely session, and for the wonderful introduction that was given about me. And I have to say, I really like the topic that was given, positivity beyond theory. And, what positivity to me really means is, positivity is nothing more than just an attitude. So it's an attitude I have towards someone, something, or some place. And that is really what positivity is. However, what is the seed of that attitude? Where does it stem from? And, it really comes from a thought. So my thought creates my attitude, and that attitude creates an awareness. And it is that attitude that I walk around with. So say, for example, I had a wonderful experience with Varun as a friend. So whenever I walk on the road and suddenly I see him walking into a shop, what's my attitude? Hey, I had a good experience with him. And so the awareness that comes in front of me, or the awareness that I'm wearing, is an awareness of joy. It's an awareness of excitement. And so when I go up to Varun, I am emitting that vibration, that positive energy. And so I go up to Varun and say, hey, how are you going? He says, hey, I remember you. How are you? We spoke about this. And I say, yes, Varun, you left a really good impression. Now, you see, that's a positive awareness. That's a positive attitude that I have. So positivity is nothing more than just an attitude. But the key, the foundation to it is my thought. If Varun left me with a negative impression, then when I see Varun, I'd go up to him. Sure, I'd still come and talk to you, but what's my attitude? Say, oh, you're the one who said something really nasty to me the other day. You're the one who said something really inaccurate. And so the feeling that I am transmitting at that time becomes quite negative. So it goes to the seed, which is my thought. Now, science has actually done some research, and they come to the conclusion that on average, we create anywhere between 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day, right? Now, I mean, it's quite a significant number. And what they've also found out was, of that 60 to 70,000, 90% of the thoughts that we create in a day are actually repetitive thoughts. So, I'm just going to very briefly touch on this, but I don't want to go into too much detail. So generally, there are four categories of thoughts that we create in a day. We've got the ordinary thoughts, we've got positive thoughts, we've got negative thoughts, and we've got waste thoughts. Now, if 90% of what we create in a day is repetitive, so it means it could be something from today, or something that has happened from today, or it could be something from yesterday or even in the past. So we're just repeating it. Now, this is where this whole concept of overthinking comes in, right? So just imagine if 90% is waste, which could potentially lead me to negative, right? How many percent is positive? If less than 10% is going to be positive, then what attitude am I wearing throughout the day? What awareness am I wearing throughout the day? Is Varun the source of my positive awareness? Or is my thoughts going to be the source of my positive awareness? Am I going to use the result, that means somebody or something or someone in front of me as the basis to the kind of thoughts I create? Or am I the master of the thoughts I create? Am I going to let a situation influence me and determine the kind of thoughts I create? I'm walking on the street very coolly, minding my own business, and somebody on a scooter rides past and says, and starts swearing at me or screams at me, and telling me that I'm doing something wrong. Now you tell me, is that going to change my train of thoughts? Is that going to affect my mood for the day? If I'm driving on the road, I'm doing all the right things. Suddenly there's a car that comes behind me, hoots at me, and then drives on the side and then winds down his windows and starts shouting at me just because I'm going too slow, or well, not fast enough in his definition. Is that going to affect me? Right? So positive thoughts are thoughts that actually bring feelings of peace, love, happiness, not just to me, but to people around me. That is positive thoughts. And who's responsible for it? Like I said, it's not the guy who hooted at me. It's not the person that I'm going to talk to. It's not the place that I'm going to. If I'm going to a beautiful garden, I have beautiful feelings. If I'm going to the sea by the beach, I get really lovely feelings. Is that going to determine the kind of thoughts I have? Or is it I who set the tone for the day? Am I the master of my thoughts? Am I the one who's actually allowing myself to create those thoughts? Because remember, it's my thoughts that's actually going to set the attitude, and the attitude's going to give me the awareness. So who is the master at this point? But what's the benefit of thinking positively? Sure, now we've sort of accepted that, yes, less than 10% of my thoughts are positive. So what's the real purpose? I mean, it's starting to sound like hard work, right? But what's the real purpose? Now, I'm sure if you Google up what's the benefit of positive thinking, there's 500,000 or probably 1 billion ideas around it. But for myself, let's go into a bit of retrospection and see, how is it benefiting me? I think the first thing that positive thinking does is, I mean, of course, at a health level, yes, it'll give me good health. I'll have a lot more peace of mind. I'll be able to manage things better. Sure. I'll be in a good mood. Everybody will love me because I'm in a good mood. But more than that, it is really to help me build my inner strength. It will help me to wear a more constructive attitude when I'm facing situations. I mean, I don't know of anyone who loves to have a roller coaster mood in a day. You wake up first thing in the morning and you think, Monday morning. I don't know if that's a good start to a very positive attitude. Or you wake up in the morning and you say, yes, it's Saturday. Great. What are my plans? Can I set that same attitude every day? And I wake up in the morning and I think, yes, it's Tuesday because I'm going to have, let's say, birthday parties of the month at work, or, I'm going to go skiing, or it's my first day off. So what is actually setting the tone for me? So if I'm responsible, then it is my responsibility to set the tone for the day. So it will definitely take a little bit of work, but it will pay off in the long run. So positivity to me really is something that I am responsible for and something I can share with others. And when I start practicing and when I become aware of my own real original qualities, then I'm actually able to actually have a very constructive attitude that would keep me on a really constant mood throughout the day. Challenges will come. We're not denying that part of it. But what we really want to do is to keep our awareness constant. Sorry, Varun. I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So basically consciously choosing your thoughts and choosing and with an intent on how we want to set the tone for the day or how we want to approach anything. So kind of creating that thought which is more closer to our natural truth. And then,
Absolutely.
yeah. But then quite often people are in this cycle of negativity and overwhelmed by it. And then it becomes very difficult for someone to kind of, move out of that. And the intellectual understanding of positivity, people usually have nowadays, and they may even try, but then it's kind of challenging at times to get out of that loop of negativity. So what advice or suggestions would you have for such cases?
That's a very, very good question. And just to stretch on that one a little bit, we get stuck in this loop of negativity and then we drown into it. And, it sort of goes back to the earlier point I was mentioning about overthinking. And really, I mean, the consequence can be it can be quite dire because sometimes it can actually lead us to depression, right? Now, my personal suggestion to people like that, and this is truly based on my own experience, is when you start finding yourself getting into a position like that, where you start feeling really, you just feel so negative, something has happened and you feel like that's the end of the world, and something really drastic has happened, whether even if it means that somebody has insulted you in public, or um, rather than giving you compliments and credits, they have absolutely slandered you. The first thing I tell people to do is, rather than roll in that mud of that waste and negative thoughts that you're going through, get up, get out and go for a walk. If it's not outside, go and do something active. So even if it means to clean the dishes, clean the kitchen, wash the bathroom, even if you've just done it yesterday or you've done it 2 days ago, go and vacuum your floor. It doesn't matter. Do it. But the whole idea of us getting into such activity is to break this pattern of thoughts. The moment I break this pattern, then I'm giving myself an opportunity to do something different. It will feel really hard. It's like all of a sudden you've got, this big lead legs that you got to carry around. They probably weigh a ton each. Get up and do it. Trust me, it will pay off in long term. I remember I had a point where, there was something that I was going through this phase in my life, and I just couldn't really do much work. So all I was doing was I was sitting in front of my computer and I was watching YouTube, and I had no idea. I mean, I'd just watch random clips. I wouldn't watch a full movie. So I'd watch random clips. And that's what I did for half a day. And if you had asked me, what did you watch? Which one was the best clip? I would have no clue what I was watching. Like, I said, oh yeah, something, some Bollywood movies, some Kollywood movies, some English animation. I have no idea. And I started to notice myself, because then I started becoming really slack. I didn't want to do any work at home. I was just sitting in the house, didn't want to go out for a walk because it was too hot. I didn't want to cook. I didn't want to clean. And then I said to myself, this is it. Close the laptop, put it aside, get up and go and do something. So I literally got up, started to sweep the floor, mop the floor. And believe it or not, I mean, it sounds really silly, but I was practically doing it every day. And I knew that was going to be the medicine for it. Then the inspiration came, okay, now let's start meeting people. Let's catch up with them. Let's talk to them. And really just getting out of that little room that you're in, of that little space that you're in, changing your space makes a world of difference. So on a very practical note, that's the first thing I do. Don't worry about your thoughts, but get on with it, because when you start doing things, you start thinking, oh, what do I need to do? I filled up the bucket with water. What do I need to do? You can't just put dishwashing liquid inside there. You need to put the right chemical to clean the floor, to clean the bathroom, that sort of a thing. So definitely, the first step when you're really overwhelmed with negativity is do something physical. I know some people who actually go for a jog when they've got such thoughts, and that's really healthy. Go out and play some games, do it. Sometimes even just window shopping, just walk around the mall. It will really change your pattern of thoughts. It'll remind you of the things that you need to get done. So definitely doing something like that would be helpful.
So, brother, there is this term I was I heard. I mean, one of my friends, she mentioned that we were discussing on this topic, positivity, and she found this term positive very irritating in a way, especially when she had people who used to talk about that to her, and she found it quite irritating because somehow she didn't feel it, and then the other person would say all these goody goody things. And what she felt was that positivity in a way is also kind of spiritual bypassing, wherein you're not dealing with what you have to deal with. Let's say there is some emotion, there is some disappointment, sadness, or you're grieving about something, and you're trying to shove it away in some corner of your being, and you're trying to think something opposite of that. So it kind of felt like a, you know,
Pretty
non-alignment.
artificial.
Yeah. So that was the term used, spiritual bypassing. And there is also this term I've heard is toxic positivity. I'm not sure both could be similar, but if you have any thoughts on this, you can maybe share.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of this toxic positivity. And it's interesting how people come up with such a lovely phrase. But I mean, it's like, positivity and toxic, it's like on one side you're trying to be positive and then people are saying, no, that's toxic. I completely agree with you. And I think it's really valid when it's not genuine. So if somebody comes up to you and says, no, just be positive, it'll be fine. You know that they don't really mean it. They're saying it just to try and look good in front of you. Well, that's my experience. As I mentioned earlier, positivity is something that actually helps me build my inner strength, something that helps me to wear a constructive attitude. What does that mean? That means I start seeing things from a big picture. See the the normal tendency is, like I gave the example of, you're driving, you're doing all the right things on the road, and then suddenly there's a guy behind you who's hooting away, he's horning at you, and you're thinking, what have I done wrong? I'm on the right lane, I'm not on the speeding lane, I'm just fine where I am. I haven't got my hazard on, I haven't got anything that I'm doing that's wrong, so what's the problem? And then he drives past you, and then he swears at you, right? And you're thinking, what's happening? I don't understand what's going on. Now, if the normal tendency is, let's react to the situation. Let's drive past, hoot at him again, overtake him, stop the car, get out and do something, or show signs and things like that. That's a normal reaction. Now, a positive thinker would look at things from a bigger perspective. Okay, he's done this. Now, what could be the real problem? He may have mistaken me for the wrong person. He may have thought I'm somebody else, and so he's taking his revenge out on the wrong person. Maybe I drive a similar color car to this person who he was thinking. Maybe he's got a bad day and he's really rushing. Maybe he's in an emergency. How do we know? We don't really know. A positive thinker will take a big step back and observe and assess the whole thing before responding to a situation. So it's one thing to react, but it's another thing to respond. And when I learn to respond, I will get wisdom. And that comes with that practice of positive thinking. And again, like I said, positive thinking, remember, because we're dealing with thoughts, it is a whole process of vibrations. Thoughts are not something you and I can see, but we can feel. So if somebody walks past and I've got really good feelings for this person, I need not say a word, but the first thing I do is I emit vibrations of love. I emit vibrations of happiness. In seeing that person, I feel joy, and then I feel love. I feel, yes, this person is here. It's so wonderful. I'm sure the program's going to go well. We haven't even said a word. You haven't even gone up to greet this person and say hello, So where is it coming from? It's coming from the vibration. It's my thought, right? Remember what I said earlier. What I think, I create an attitude, and then I wear that awareness, and that's what I walk around with. My awareness is my outfit. And so if I have a good attitude, I have a good awareness, I have a good outfit. That's what I am sharing with people. And so someone who's a positive thinker will start to see the benefit in every situation. Rather than being trapped in that little nitty-gritty thing that has happened. Maybe this person's hooting on the road has actually helped you to drive better. Maybe you were not driving in the right lane. Maybe you were driving in the middle of two lanes. You didn't realize. And so by this person shouting at you, you start to become more alert. Who knows? Maybe because of his hooting, it's caused you to slow you down. And then maybe 300 meters ahead, the policeman was standing there with a speed camera. How do you know? Right? So you start to find the benefit in every situation. I was listening to a lecture from Steve Jobs. I think you know who Steve Jobs is, the founder of Apple, right? And in his lecture, he said, you will never see the benefit of anything before it happens. You will always and only ever see the benefit after something has happened. And I can only see the benefit of something when I choose to be a positive thinker, when I start to not get stuck in the little nitty-gritty, but instead I look at things from a big picture. Then I can see the benefit of it. Sometimes it takes days, weeks, months, years to see the benefit. I'll give you an example. I lost my mother quite recently, but probably a few years ago. But I had the fortune of spending the last few months with my mother as she was dying. And she died of cancer. So what happened was she was in the hospital. And so, my brother and I, we were making plans so that there would be a carer when she comes back home. But it was not that easy to get a proper carer. Everyone was a qualified carer, but it wasn't easy to get a good carer. And so we were looking and looking. I really found it difficult to get somebody. But anyway, it ended up that actually my mother only came to the house just for 1 week, and then she spent the next 20 days in the hospital. So my brother started feeling a bit bad, and I didn't know what to say, but I sort of felt, yeah, it's only nice if she could be in the house. But I was also aware that even if she was at home, I wasn't qualified or skilled enough to care for somebody who's ill, at least with that kind of illness, and usually people's end days, there can be quite a different scenario. Anyway, it sort of ended up that, she died in the hospital and everything went on. And by the time everything finished, we had to pay the bills, and the bill didn't come too much. And yes, we did feel a little bit bad. And I was talking to my brother and I said, if you really look at the big picture, it was really good that mom stayed in the hospital all through. And the good thing that came out of that was she was cared by qualified nurses, and that's what we wanted. We weren't trying to get carers. Carers are not as qualified as nurses were, but here she was getting good treatment by qualified nurses all through, and that's what we wanted, and she got the best of it. So from my perspective, I think, you got to let the whole situation go, and then you start looking at things from a big perspective, and then I can start to actually see the benefit in things that have happened. May not be in our favor, but there is a lesson from that.
So even whatever you just shared of kind of stepping back and observing the situation, that could also be valid for stepping back and observing how we are feeling and why, and kind of trying to understand it.
Absolutely.
And then maybe that will help us to respond it in a way that kind of helps us move forward rather than reacting and going into that loop.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, in this process, I start to understand myself better. And then I start becoming more observant of the kind of thoughts I'm creating. See, the whole idea is rather than having 90% waste or repetitive thinking, I want to have 90% productive thinking. Now that's really constructive, isn't it? I mean, could you imagine coming up with creative ideas every day? Everybody loves it. You want to do something new. Who likes to eat stale food? Everyone loves fresh food. And so you come up with something new every day. And the more I reflect, the more I give time to myself to reflect on my thoughts, the more I understand my feelings, the more I understand my thoughts. What am I doing? I'm starting to become more constructive. I am helping myself to become more positive. And as I learn these lessons, you'll find that I stop reacting to situations. I learn to start responding to situations. Why? I've developed wisdom. I don't need intelligence to live in today's world. I need wisdom.
Yeah.
Wisdom is when the head and heart come together, and that's what we need to live in today's world.
So it's, you can say it's being more creative in how we see and perceive things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So, brother, would you want to have some moments of reflection or meditation?
Yeah, I think that would be
Yeah.
really lovely. And that's something I highly encourage. If we can, I think one thing that would really help is to, spend a few minutes just to see my real qualities. And all it takes, I always tell people 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the evening. All I need to do is just sit comfortably, just relax, observe the screen of your mind. We're not criticizing or commenting on any thoughts that's running through my mind. Just let it be. And when I find a little bit of space in my thinking, I feed my mind with one thought. I am a being of peace. I am peace. What is peace? Give it a shape. Give it a color. Give it a texture. Now start to experience what this really is. This is my true quality. This is really peace. That same feeling that I've been getting every time I connect with myself. Enjoy these feelings and just share them through your vibrations to everyone around you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, brother, for your time and your sharing.
No worries.